Hi everybody, I can't knit, but I'm learning to knit with a knitting machine. This time I try to do a baby sweater for my grandchild, which will be about 9 to 12 months old in fall. I'm using OneNote to plan the project. So here are the details for the sleeves, followed by the details for the front and back. I took some instructions for manual knitting and converted it to my yarn size and machine knitting. I casted on 73 needles with the Accenture color, and I did a 1-1 rib. I'm currently at row 12, but I will continue to 14, which will give me de facto 13 rows, including the cast on. So the 13 rows are complete, and it's now time to transfer the stitches to the back bed. No worries, I will only do one and not bother you with all the other 70 some transfers. So I'm done with the secondary color. With the accent color, let me cut it off. Zip, and weave it in between the needles. This way I will have a little less to weave in later. So I added some weights to the edges. I pushed all needles out into the third position. I just want to make sure they are behind the ledge before we start knitting. And let's give it a shot. And top position. And good. Cool. I reset the counter to 0, actually 1, because it's already my first pink line. And now I need to do, I think, 92 rows. It's always 6 in color 1, 6 in the other color, so it's striped. So 6 rows are knitted. It's time to rehang the weight. Move the pink color to the side somehow, somewhere. Get the gray color threaded in. 6 rows of gray are done. The gray is now fixed onto the end. The pink is rethreaded, weights are rehung, and we do another 6 rows. And we keep doing so, and I'm not doing a video out of it. Let me show real quick how I change the yarn. So 6 rows are over. I take this out, I take this from here. I move this one underneath here. I put that one the right way in here. Give the tension enough tension. Then reposition the weight on both sides. Push the bed in the most upward position and knit the next row. I knitted my 92 rows. The same process will happen with the front part of the sweater. Now for the back part of the sweater, I first need to add 6 more rows, and then the next action takes place. It now says you do now the right side of the neck and the left side of the neck. It says keep 25 needles in working position and move remaining 50 some needles into hold position. Voila. Then it says knit 1 row. Then it says reduce 3 needles on the neck side. It's much easier if you start with the carriage at the neck side and push it out. This way you can reduce the 3 needles away from the carriage. I had to do some messing around here. It says put a stitch marker, because that's where the arm is gonna be. Then it says reduce 1 stitch every other row. So let me put that on pause. Knit and refresh. Weight is gonna be crucial here, so let me add more weight. In addition, these were 6 rows of pink. It's time to change the color. I do that offline. Reduce another stitch and go 2 rows. I'm getting trouble here on the edge, so I need to manually correct something. Maybe the weight thing is not sufficient. Let me first correct it. So I corrected some hiccups. Rehang the weight to the inside. I pushed all needles, all active needles into the second position. So it's easier. The row count is at 108, which means we have knitted those 10 rows, and it says we should have 17 needle actives, and if you count it, it's 17. I need to do a color change, and then we go into the last, the semi-last phase. Now it says to reduce 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me rehang the weight. I already changed everything to position 2 to not drop anything accidentally. And it says knit back and forth. Then it says pause remaining 7 needles. And I gladly put them on pause. Need them later. And now I need the yarn on the other side. But make a break first. Now I need to activate 25 needles on the left side. And repeat the same process. Well, somewhere I must have had a mistake or a row too much of one color. You can see on the right side I have about 2-3 rows in pink and I'm done. And on the left side I don't have any pink at all and I'm done. So it's gonna be a little bit asymmetrically. But for my first sweater, I think that's okay. I'm cutting off the yarn now. Next, I rethreaded the carriage to the excess color, the extra color. I need to knit 2 rows and then cast off. Instead of activating all the needles, I simply push that one button, so it automatically pulls it back. So front and back are done. This is the front. Starts with the 1-1 rib and then 6 rows of each colors, and up there the neck shaping begins. Those flaps will overlap front and back, so it's to be able to open better for the baby head. Overall, pretty cool. I casted on 24 needles, did a 1-1 rib for 24 rows, and I'm unthreading now the accent color and I will take the pink color. I reset the row counter to 0 because during the next 40 rows we need to increase 12 needles. First time after 5 rows, and we increase left and right, and then again after every 7th row. So we needed 5 rows. And I need to transfer, actually increase by 1 needle, right and left. I'm using the transfer method. I'm transferring 2 needles out. Flip. And I need to hang that previous stitch from the needle besides over onto the empty spot. I need to hang that previous stitch over there, so I don't get a hole. And I do the same on the other side. We just finished the 6th row and I need to change colors. This way I need to change color every 6th row and need to increase every 7th row. Did the color change at row 36, now row 40. I need to do another increase left and right, and that's it for now. Now we can knit 20 rows straight, but don't forget to change the color every 6 needle. So my next color change is at row 42. I didn't put my bed in the most upward position and it didn't knit right. Merde. I manually knitted the missing stitches My experience is if I had to manually intervene, it's safer to put the needles into position 2, just in case I made something too tight. I reached row 60 and now the shaping of the shoulder happens, but quite honestly, if I would do it again, I would go until row 80. This is already my second sleeve, so I don't really have a choice, and go into shaping now. So we have 58 needles by now, and we need to do shoulder shaping. So during the next 8 rows we need to reduce 46 needles. Now the instruction said to cast off for the next 4 rows, to cast off 5 needles at the carriage side, knit over, and then cast off 5 needles on the other side. But my wife pointed out it's just much easier to put 5 needles on pause on the opposite side and do that, and at the very end we can do a cast off in 1 row, so it's much easier, and that's what I'll do. Now we have 38 stitches, so for the next 8 rows, for the next 4 rows we cast off 6 every time. Not cast off, we pause 6 every time. 2, 4, 6, hang the weight at the corner, at the edge, and zip. Next row I would need to pause again 6 and 6, but my counter is at 66, which means I would normally need to do a color change, but for those last 1 or 2 rows I'm not changing the color. It's now time to cast off all the stitches, but before doing so I'm adding 1 more row. This way I have an even color, and it's also easier to cast off if the yarn is inside the hooks. Last row. Actually since my yarn is in the middle, I'm gonna weave it over until I'm at the right side and then do my last row. Oops, I did that on the other. This is how I do my cast off. I'll transfer the stitch to its neighbor. It's helpful. Yep. Bring that needle and the previous needle out. Loop it around the previous needle and pull it through and push it out again. Then I transfer that stitch to its neighbor. Push the previous needle and the current needle out. Loop it around the previous needle and pull it through. And this way I keep going. So the second sleeve is done. It still rolls, but if you can roll it, there's a shaping up there. To assemble the 4 pieces, it says to put the back piece on top of the front piece and align the stitch markers and sew together a little edge. Do the same thing on the other side. So I stitched front and back part together for about 2 centimeters or so. That's where you see that little gray marker. I stitched there together. Same on the other side. That's also stitched together. I think before I put on the arms, I need to reduce some of that crap, so I will make these things disappear first and then put the arms on. Next we find the center of the arm by putting it in half. So here's my center, and we knit that center to the stitch marker we have in there, and from there on we go back or front and then towards the other side. At this point I'm only knitting the front side. I am not knitting into the flap, and I'm using a mattress stitch or something like that. I'm not really too experienced in stitching together. You want to make sure your stitch ends in the same color area on both sides. So this way I'm below at the bottom of the gray, like on that side, and then it should all work out. So this is the first time I sew together something larger, and it's working out nice so far. So I have the front and back piece, the two arms with it. That's the inside of the sweater. Next thing is I need to clean up more of the yarn, and then I stitch together front and back part and the arms. Yeah, I knitted my first sweater. It's a baby sweater for my grandchild. Some one rib. I'm changing colors after 6 rows or so. The shoulders are overlapping, so the opening is large enough for the head. The only thing I regret, I should have listened to the instructions which said to do a garter stitch at the very top, and I didn't, and now it keeps rolling like crazy. But for a first sweater, I'm pretty happy. I think this concludes my machine learning vlog. You are never really done learning, but I think I basically reached a point where I can do stuff. From now on, I will do videos about some project if something turned out to be good.